Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Ranking Member Waters, for holding this hearing and for giving me a chance to speak about the Choice Act. Let me be blunt. This is a 589-page insult to working families. It would immediately increase the cost of mortgages, student loans, and small businesses. This bill would let big banks and payday lenders and financial advisors go back to cheating people with no accountability, and it would unleash the same behavior on Wall Street that led to the 2008 financial crisis. I read this bill and I think, when I read it, I think, why? Why? Just 8 years after the worst financial crisis in more than 70 years, are Republicans lining up to roll back the rules on Wall Street and make it easier for financial firms to cheat people? Why? Just 6 months after the American people elected a Republican president who claimed he would take on Wall Street and drain the swamp, are Republicans in Congress moving in literally the opposite direction? What exactly is the problem that they think they're trying to solve? So here are the arguments I usually hear. Our new rules have made it too hard for banks to lend money. Really? Check the facts. Access to consumer credit and small business lending is at historically high levels, and loan growth at community banks is up even more than at big banks. Here's another one. We've made compliance so difficult that banks just can't operate. Nope, that one's not true either. Banks of all sizes posted record profits last quarter, with profits at community banks up even more than at the big banks. And here's the last argument I hear. We're making it hard for our bigger banks to compete internationally. Wrong again. Our big banks are blowing away their foreign competitors. This bill doesn't solve a single real problem with the economy or with our financial system, but it does make some big-time lobbyists happy. I've heard the Democrats on this committee calling this bill the Wrong Choice Act, and boy, is that true. It is the wrong choice. Wrong choice? No, it is an immoral choice. It is about throwing working families under the bus so that Congress can do the bidding of Wall Street. Shortly after the financial crisis hit, I remember going to Clark County, Nevada, for a hearing to listen to just a few of the millions of people whose lives were being torn apart by the crisis. A man named Mr. Estrada showed up to tell his story. He and his wife both worked hard, and they had stretched their budget to buy a house that was right across the street from a really good school for his 2 little girls. But the Estradas had a mortgage with an ugly surprise buried in the fine print. When the payments jumped, they fell behind. And Mr. Estrada and his wife talked to the bank over and over, and they thought they had arranged a modification. Then, poof, the house was sold at auction, and the bank gave his family 14 days to move out, to move those 2 little girls out of their home. Mr. Estrada told us that after they got the notice, his 6-year-old came home with a sheet of paper with all her friends' names on it, and she told him that this was her list of the people who were going to miss her because her family was going to have to move. He said he told his daughter, "I don't care if we have to live in a van. You are going to be able to go to the school." And as he told this story, Mr. Estrada, big man, stood there in front of a room full of strangers and tried not to cry. Now, that's a story that was shared by Americans all across the country, people in each of the districts that you represent. We built the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and the rest of Dodd-Frank so that Mr. Estrada and other families like his wouldn't get cheated and wouldn't face that kind of pain again. You know, some banks like to say, we didn't cause the crash. Well, let's be clear. Mr. Estrada didn't cause the crash either, but boy, did he pay a price for it. We have an obligation, a moral obligation, to make sure that that kind of crisis never happens again in this country. That is why voters sent us to Washington, to work for them, not for a bunch of high-priced Wall Street lobbyists. I hope you will think hard about Mr. Estrada and about the millions of people like him when you consider this legislation. Thank you again for inviting me here to testify today.